welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Barjo.
And I'm Hex. Lots of games this week, Badge.
Indeed, Hex. We rock out with Rocksmith. Yeah, Rocket, yes. Thank you.
Plus our gratis pick for this week is a cool Battlestar Galactica mod, so say we all. Also, Dead or Alive 5, but first, can you guess the game for this week? Barjo doesn't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
You can tell by his I don't know hands.
Could be anything.
The metal is proud, sir.
Well, Hex, do you want to ninja off to the news? With these hands.
Good game.
BioWare's co-founders, Greg Sezchuk and Ray Muzica, have announced their retirement from the games industry. The duo founded the company in 1995, which has since gone on to become one of the industry's most respected developers. The studio's acclaimed franchises, including Baldur's Gate, Knights of the Old Republic, and Mass Effect. Both founders are moving on to entirely new industries, with Sezchuk planning to create a video show about beer, where he'll interview notable brewers. He said that even if it doesn't work out, at least he'll have consumed a lot of tasty beverages. Insider trading is the latest in a string of problems for the Secret World developer Funcom. Former CEO Trond Ass is alleged to have sold more than 650,000 shares illegally. On the day before the game's release in July, he took on a different role in the company, enabling him to immediately sell his shares.
Gold makes me happy. See?
I see.
Funcom shares have since dropped 90% of their former value. The Secret World has suffered from poor sales and extensive layoffs at its studio. A group of gamers have rallied together to raise money for their friend's extensive medical bills. When the artist Daniel Somerville's $450,000 medical costs became known to his fellow Dungeons & Dragons players, they turned to social media and crowdfunding. More than $10,000 has already been donated, and Daniel is currently recovering after his surgery.
Good game.
Prepare yourself, you traitor! I am ready. I'm ready!
Ready to face your fate?
Ah, Dead or Alive. So many memorable characters. There's the ninja guy.
Tournament?
And the wrestling guy.
I feel damn good!
And don't forget the girls with big boobs, because they account for more than half of the roster.
Now for business.
Listen, you better not disappoint me.
All them.
I mean, the character's costume select screen says it all. It's just close-up pictures of their boobs. And there's no getting around the fact that this franchise has always been super shallow.
Yeah, to the point of embarrassment, really.
Yeah, and it's also just pretty silly.
Yeah.
My dreams. My happiness.
What a completely appropriate reaction to losing a fight.
It's a weird falling position.
The Wafer Thin storyline sees you taking control of different fighters who are all traveling to the Dead or Alive tournament, but their excuses to fight are hilariously feeble.
You're the one who ran into me. Now apologize.
Sucker!
Oh, it's on now.
Plus, the facial animation looks like something from a decade ago. It's all stony expressions and bad lip syncing, and look, I'm sorry to go on about it, but the boobs do more acting than they do. They're like separate entities in themselves and just always moving. It's hypnotic.
It's like they've become self-aware.
Yeah.
But then we were never going to get a serious game from the team who brought us this.
Thankfully, what they have given us is a serious combat system. There's a big focus on counters where you catch your opponent's punches and kicks and turn the attack back on them. Stopping a combo in its tracks with a reversal like this is great fun.
And I love how often the fights turn into these Mexican standoffs as you try and get into your opponent's mind and anticipate their every move. For example, she's blocking, so I'll grab her. There's a wall behind me, so I'll reverse my opponent into it and smash him against it. I find this strategy much more interesting than just memorizing long, complicated button presses in a game like Tekken, for example.
Yeah, I I guess for me, the action felt a little bit too fast-paced, though. I mean, it can be almost impossible to react to some of those faster combos.
I like the fast-paced action here. I like a fast fighter, but yeah, after that initial standoff, it is very difficult to counter individual punches and kicks in the middle of a combo when you have 3 different types of counters to pick from. And you can have the best strategy in the world, but when you come up against a button masher, there's no way you can play a defensive game. You're forced to go on the offensive. And it's a common problem in fighters, but I always feel like it's a bit more prevalent in Dead or Alive.
Yeah, I'm a little bit guilty of button mashing. I mean, if I don't know a character's moves back to front, then of course I'm gonna button mash, and it's not my fault if the game gives me a free pass for mashing.
I'm guilty of a mash now and then as well, Hex, but what I like is this game focuses you on getting inside the mind of the person you're playing, rather than just the character they're playing.
Deep. Something even better than a good button mash are the power moves that smash your opponent right through walls. They look amazing. Plus, leaping out after them and continuing the fight is pretty cool too.
And the ability to mix throws and mid-combo is handy because it makes the heavier grapplers more versatile. It was interesting to see Sega's Virtua Fighter characters making an appearance here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess after we saw Sonic's cameo in Smash Brothers, the precedent was there, but it does feel a bit like Sega's abandoning the Virtua franchise by licensing out all of its stars to its competitors, but I don't know, how'd you find them?
I'm not a huge Virtua Fighter guy, but I think they've done a pretty good job of transplanting Sarah and Akira into Dead or Alive's faster-paced combat style. But we should wrap this up, Hex. What are you giving it?
Well, I think it's got some stunning fight choreography, but I would just never keep playing a game like this because the boob factor is just such a joke. I'm giving it 7. You could say that the only thing well-rounded about these characters is the breast region, is the boobs.
Oh dear, this is terrible. Tokyo's really scary.
You could say that. I think if you look at a game like Street Fighter, they do such a good job of balancing crazy, silly characters and still making it have a nice aesthetic, you know, and I feel like this is just too silly and too booby, but still, it's a really solid combat system, especially when you're going up against an evenly matched opponent. I'm giving it 7 out of 10.
Get ready, fight! Good game.
The rules of the survival horror genre are simple. Isolate your protagonists and send them off into the darkness to not only fight for their lives, but to battle off insanity. Dead Space is a game that ticks all of these boxes. While other franchises used classic locations like a creepy cabin in the woods or a Victorian mansion, even an insane asylum, Dead Space chooses the USG Ishimura, a mining station, as its horror playground. Owned by the Concordance Extraction Corporation, the Ishimura was its jewel in the crown, the largest and most successful planet cracker in the galaxy. That is, until its inhabitants dug up something they probably should have left well alone. The Ishimura, or Stone Village in its Japanese translation, continues to add to the horror checklist with its flickering lights, dripping water, and venting steam pipes. And while it does all of these things well, what makes it a classic horror location is the sound. Hello? Anyone? By keeping music to an absolute minimum, Isaac can hear every creak, every scatter, every distant whisper. And as any horror genre fan knows, what you actually can't see is way more terrifying than what you can. The few times we're given a glimpse beyond the Ishimura's claustrophobic walls don't offer any comfort. The deathly silence and vastness of space only drives home how alone you truly are. Add to this Isaac's heavy breathing, pounding heartbeat, and you've got atmosphere you could carve with a plasma cutter. That glowing blue line showing you the way forward doesn't offer any safety. It might show you the path to take, but at the same time it feels like a bit of a dare, as if following it is actually a trick that will lead you further down the rabbit hole of insanity. Roughly the size of a small city, you work your way through the industrial corridors, cargo bays, and elevators, all of which conveniently feature plenty of vents and hatches, perfect entry points for the infected necromorphs, who have only one thing on the brain: your violent and horrific demise. Yuki Ishimura. It's a screen.
Badge, I feel like we've been waiting forever for a half-decent Battlestar Galactica game, something to do justice to what I would argue is one of the best sci-fi universes of all time, not to mention my favourite TV series. There have been a few attempts here and there, but Diaspora Shattered Armistice is a community-built mod made by BSG fans. And it's one of the first Battlestar games I've come across that's felt truly fracking authentic. And best of all, it's free.
Yeah, sometimes it takes fans to get it right, doesn't it? The game uses the Free Space source code project engine, and it's basically a space fighter set in the Battlestar Galactica universe. You play a trainee or nugget assigned to the Battlestar Theseus. It's your job to road test the Command Navigation Program, which is new fancy software designed to take the colonial fleet into the future of military defense and flight navigation.
Targeting trials have been completed. Stand by for combat trials.
Words cannot describe my excitement here, Barjo. Starbuck, best Viper pilot in the sky, is a personal hero of mine. She's strong, cocky, and pulls off the kind of ballsy maneuvers that could only be attempted by one that's looked a fracking toaster in the eye, laughed in the face of death, and then blown them into oblivion. Behold, her dog tags. And now I had the chance to fly in the wake of her awesomeness. Unfortunately, all the fandom in the world couldn't help me be the best Viper pilot in the sky, because when it comes to flight sims, I am still pretty rubbish.
Looks like the CAG was wrong to put you up for this test, pilot. How the hell did you manage to get yourself killed by drones?
A valiant effort nonetheless, Hex, and in fairness, this game takes quite a while to master. The game throws a whole host of fiddly controls at you right from the get-go. When it came down to the real action, I just stuck to using a few very basic maneuvers because I'd forgotten the rest. There is a lot of keyboard juggling, but it's worth pushing through that to get to the action.
Yeah, and they've really captured the essence of this universe so wonderfully too, haven't they? Everything from the soundtrack, which is entirely original but perfectly inspired by the series, to those beautiful vistas and space flares. It really creates that feeling of being inside the BSG universe. And the first time you see one of those terrifying Cylon base ships jump into your field of view, it's just thrilling.
Yeah, and the way those battles play out just take you back to some of the greatest battle moments from the show, don't they? Missiles, space explosions, chaos.
Stand by for combat landing procedures.
Your ship takes damage quite quickly though, and often I'd be focusing on my mission objective only to have one of those toasters sneak up on me and blow me to smithereens. You really need to be constantly cycling through your targets to make sure none of those stealthy raiders are in close proximity.
And it can be quite hard to gauge how fast you're going in relation to everything else, because there isn't much in space, so it's not until you get right up close to something and then you quite often overshoot it.
Trying to pull off crafty maneuvers will take a bit of practice because of that button layout. It's not something that feels super intuitive.
We have neutralized the Cylon.
That said, it definitely feels authentic, because flying a Viper would be no easy task, so there would be lots of controls to keep your eye on.
And while you do get that landing assist in that very first training mission, the Theseus has yet to be upgraded with the new CMP software.
Which fans of Battlestar Galactica will recognise as a blessing in disguise because Cylons can hack the network, obviously. It's why the Battlestar Galactica's retro design made it one of the only ships capable of taking on the Cylon fleet.
Yeah, so you'll be hands-on with every landing from then on.
Pilots, you're authorized for combat landing.
In the middle of a fight, you generally have about 60 seconds to get back to the Battlestar and execute a safe landing. Barjo, all my landings were abysmal. That time limit is so stressful, and I always overdo it on the thrusters, and I can never slow down in time. But, you know, a crash landing is better than no landing.
Engine's failing. I'm venting fuel all over the fracking place.
Orbit, can you hold it together long enough to get back to the Theseus?
Swarm block secure. Negative, systems are down. Repeat, systems are
Tell me about it. If you don't land in time, then the Battlestar just takes off without you, leaving you stranded.
The Theseus has jumped. We're on our own.
Which is code for restart the mission and do it all again.
You'll mostly be flying the Viper Mark 7, but there are some cool Raptor missions as well, allowing you to jump from point to point to do some recon and search for survivors.
It's a good thing you arrived.
And this will see you adding civilian ships to the fleet, just like the Galactica did in the series, which is really cool. There's also some not too terrible voice acting to guide you through, and this makes you feel like you're in constant contact with the military.
There's beautiful attention to detail with the crafting and design of each of the ships, and you can see the fan love that has gone into it. The interface reflects the aesthetics of the series too, although I found the options menu a bit confusing.
Yeah, and being a mod, you may need to fuss about with it as some of the graphics settings are a little bit unstable, so there's a bit of trial and error there. Also, the game has multiplayer, which would have been awesome, but we couldn't seem to get it running or find any available servers. So it looks like there's still some work to be done on it before it's all running smoothly.
Yes, but from a community of fans, this is a very well-made game, and I think for a BSG fan, it's a real treat.
Well, so say we all, Badge. And look, I may not be the best Viper pilot in the sky, but this game genuinely makes me feel like a nugget that's been thrown headfirst into a war. You know, I'm learning it as I go, and I definitely want to go back and try again until I'm worthy of these dog tags and I can hear nothing but the rain. So, pending multiplayer, I'm giving it 8.
I'm giving it 7 out of 10.
You know, you may remember these dog tags because I wore them the day that we met.
Yes, you were cosplaying a Starbuck.
I was cosplaying a Starbuck and I came and asked you for this dorky fan photo.
And I pulled a face, if I remember correctly.
You did pull a face. If I'd only known that you would be pulling faces like that every day for the rest of my life.
Mortal Kombat, hands down. That was the first one that I would spend hours upon hours upon hours. And actually, my wife, we met when I was very young, and I was not very young, but 15. And she remembers me playing Mortal Kombat in the arcade and just not leaving.
Get over here!
And then at the end of 3, when Mortal Kombat approached us about having Kratos in there,
You will not see the end of this day.
I got to meet Ed Boon, and so that was a huge moment. You know, it took me back to childhood. And it was like, oh, I love you.
I can relate.
Yeah.
I think Mortal Kombat 9 was refused classification in our country. I haven't been able to play it, and I was wondering if I could get a hug because I haven't played Mortal Kombat 9, and it makes me very sad.
You can get a hug?
Can I have a little hug?
Oh, sure.
Kratos wins. Good game.
Nailed it. I'm ready for the review, Hex. Ready to do it.
There was a time when the 5-button plastic guitars of Rock Band and Guitar Hero were an impressive foray into the music rhythm genre, but now Ubisoft's Rocksmith has upped the ante by letting you play a real guitar. Barjo, I think if we're going to do this, we have to do it properly.
What are you trying to say?
Let's go. What would the Rage Couch be without a guest musician?
Hi.
Hi, guys.
This is Cloud Busting. He's one of the producers on Good Game and also a professional musician. Cloud's band Big Heavy Stuff have recorded and toured all over the shop with the likes of Powderfinger and Radiohead. Cloud, tell us, what is your professional opinion on Rocksmith?
Well, first, could we talk about this guitar? If you decide to go and get the Rocksmith bundle, you actually get this guitar. It's a pretty decent brand. It's an Epiphone Junior. But like with any sort of cheaper model guitar, it does have a few flaws. For instance, the action, which is the height of the strings off the neck, it's a little bit high, so it hurts your fingers when you play. And the intonation is a bit out, so it goes out of tune. It's in tune, maybe open stringed, but then you bar it and it's a bit wonky. And that can actually be a bit of a handicap when you're playing the game. If you can find someone who knows what they're doing, they can do what's called a setup where they adjust the bridge and get the guitar sort of sounding and feeling a lot better.
But you can play this with any guitar though, right? So if you've got your own guitar, you can use that instead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's nothing special about this guitar. You don't have to use this to play Rocksmith. Any electric guitar or bass guitar or an acoustic with a pickup will work because the game comes with this magic USB to jack lead, and that means you're plugging your guitar straight into your console. And it's making your TV or your stereo like a makeshift guitar amp, and it actually sounds pretty good.
As a professional guitarist, from your perspective, do you find this to be the authentic guitar experience or gimmicky?
Look, I was pleased to find out that there's no gimmick to it at all. The game can accurately read everything that you do on the guitar. You know, chords, slides, bends, everything. It's really quite impressive. It even has an on-screen tuner that you can use, which I did find a little bit forgiving. Like, it tells you the guitar is perfectly in tune, even when some of the strings are a little bit flat or a little bit sharp. And I think it's not so precise, just to kind of get people into the songs quicker. Rocksmith uses a note lane like other guitar games, but here you're looking at a horizontal guitar neck with 6 strings, each string a different colour, and some of the frets are numbered. So it's like you're seeing through the guitar neck. If you were to hold the guitar up to the TV screen, you're basically putting your fingers where you should, where the notes come towards you.
As a beginner, and when I say beginner, I mean I don't know an A chord from a B chord, or I've never played the guitar before in my life, and I found it really difficult to, you know, watch what my fingers were doing on the fretboard and, you know, watch what was happening on screen and going back and forth.
Yeah, I think that will add a layer of difficulty for beginners. But look, once you get used to it, it's quite intuitive. It sort of becomes like sight-reading chord charts coming towards you. And I had a lot of fun sort of working out the more intricate sort of fiddly guitar parts and things like that.
The game also has a dynamic difficulty system. It adjusts the complexity of the note lane on the fly to match your skill level. Songs start out as simple one-note parts, and as you do well, it adds more and more notes until you're playing the full guitar part as it was recorded.
Yeah, that's right. And song to song, you'll be taught new techniques like palm muting, harmonics, tremolo, and bar chords. It's very thorough, but it never tries to teach you any actual music theory. I do think it's a bit of an oversight that they didn't allow you to set the difficulty manually, because if you're really good at the game and you're playing and you make a few bum notes, then the note complexity drops down, and that's a bit annoying if you just want it to sort of stay up there the whole time.
Yeah, that bothered me too, because I'm good at some songs, but others just got no chance at.
I found this didn't really appeal to me in the way that a game would. It feels a bit more like a gamified guitar tutoring program. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, you know, like they've tried to wrap it up in as much game as possible. They award you Rocksmith points and virtual effects pedals and things like that. I think when it comes down to it, it is more of a guitar teaching tool than, you know, an instant fun party game like Rock Band. It's for guitarists by guitarists.
There is the Guitarcade though. These are retro-styled mini-games that make you use different guitar techniques to get high scores, such as hitting the right chords to shoot down zombies. I thought this was a fun diversion from practicing the songs.
Yeah, those games certainly test your ability to find the frets quickly, but I don't know, I found them a bit routine, and again, if you're not familiar with the guitar, it gets pretty tricky.
Bomb defused.
Yeah, they are a bit simplistic, sort of as mini-games. Even when you know what you're doing on the guitar, I think you'll get a bit bored of them after a while. But look, what they're there for is to make you more comfortable with the neck and help you explore the fretboard so that when you go back to the songs, you're better at the techniques that they're teaching you.
The Australian version of Rocksmith also supports bass guitar straight off the disc. So you can play through all the same songs on bass too, or back up a friend on guitar, and you'll be taught specific bass skills as well. Even a bit of slapping.
All right, it's your professional muso opinion.
I was really impressed with it. I mean, I think if you're looking for something to motivate you to play guitar and get better and improve your guitar playing, Rocksmith will definitely do that. If you're more an advanced guitarist, I think it'll come down to whether you really want to learn the parts to the songs that come on the disc. Personally, I think I'll be looking at what the future DLC is going to be like.
Yeah, I mean, I can really appreciate the potential this game has to teach me how to play the guitar, but if you're not motivated to learn, there's not really enough game in there to really hook you in. But I mean, I think it's amazing what they've done though. I'm giving it 7.5.
I think if you approach this as a game, you'll have a terrible time, but as someone who can play a guitar a little bit, I got quite a lot out of it, so I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens. What about you, Clow? Gonna score it?
Yeah, you should score it.
Give it a little score?
Give it a score.
Can I score a score? Okay, I'd give it 8 too. 8 rubber chickens. Okay, guys, back to work.
Yes. Sorry.
Bye.
So did you guess the game for this week? It was Loom, a 1990 adventure game made by point-and-click masters LucasArts. The game was unique because its puzzles were based around magical tunes called drafts that you created with 4 notes.
Well, it's been at least 10 minutes since we fought back a zombie Armageddon, so next week we do just that with Resident Evil 6.
Plus, it's that time of year again. We'll pit FIFA against Pro Evo to see which game is the soccer champ.
Done it. They're back on level terms, and it's another really good show.
And we relive some Half-Life in high definition with Black Mesa.
Don't forget, guys, the Good Game app has now gone Android, and it's already received its first update thanks to all of your brilliant feedback, so keep it up.
Until next week, gamers, Barjo out.
Hex out.
I've got a personal trainer now, Hex.
Do you?
Fighting the flab.
Really?
Gonna get totes ripped.
I'm impressed.
Except he likes Dark Souls, so we just talk about Dark Souls most of the time.
How ripped are you gonna get? Like, nice muscle, like
I'm
that.
gonna get so ripped. So ripped. So I've already cancelled half my sessions. Too many MMOs.